Hi fellow crafters, this week I have another beautiful Mother's Day card idea to share with you. One that uses 1 pack of dies, 1 stamp set, and the fabulous new 2021 to 2023 in colors. So let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Terry and I'm nuts about stamping. I love sharing project ideas and techniques for rubber stamping, scrapbooking, and paper crafting with you each week. Be sure to hit that red subscribe button and the bell beside it so that you'll be the first to be notified when my next video goes live. Now, let's get started on this gorgeous Mother's Day card idea I have to share with you this week. As I explained in my introduction, I'm going to use the brand new Quiet Meadow stamp set. I love this set, and I'm going to be using the phrase for my Mother's Day card. And I'm going to combine that phrase with the Pierced Blooms dies. These dies came out in the last mini catalog, and they're being carried over to the new annual catalog that goes live in May. And I'm going to use 3 of the dies in this pack, along with the phrase, to create a gorgeous Mother's Day card idea. Now, I also told you that I'm going to be using the brand new in colors. So here they are. We have Soft Succulent, so pretty. We have Fresh Freesia, Pale Papaya, Polished Pink, and Evening Evergreen. So for my card, I'm going to use the combination of these 3 in colors for my Mother's Day card. And I'll be back with another video at some point and I'll show you how to use these other colors as well. So my card base is going to be Pale Papaya. I've cut it 8.5 by 5.5 and scored it on the 4 1/4 mark. And it's going to be a vertical card layout. And to that, I am going to add a layer of basic black. And I'm going to put the basic black towards the top of the card front. So I used my Stampin' Seal. And I applied that to the back of the basic black layer, and I'm going to adhere it down like that. Now, I'm going to set this aside for a minute, and I am going to bring in the 3 colors that I'm going to use. Now, for each one, I cut them 1 1/4 inch square. Now, what you want is you want 3 of the polished pink, 3 of the pale papaya, and 3 of the fresh freesia. And then you're going to take this die from the Pierced Blooms die pack, and you're going to die cut 3 of the polished pink, 3 of the pale papaya, and 3 of the fresh freesia. Now, alongside of that, you want to take this little die. It has these little circles. They're actually flower center circles. And you're going to use some scrap Whisper White cardstock. I always have little bits and pieces lying around because I'm a scrapaholic and I keep them on hand just in case I'm going to use them, like today. And you want to cut 9 centers. So you're going to end up with 9 flowers and 9 centers. So I will bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. There we go. And I will just show you 1 pass through. And then I will stop the video and I'll go ahead and I will cut out the remaining flowers. I'll die cut additional centers and additional flowers in all 3 of the in colors that I've selected for my card. So I'll be back in a moment. And I'll show you everything that's been die cut and what we're going to do with those flowers next. There's one additional step that I forgot to talk to you about, and I'm going to do that now because it requires the big shot as well. So as I said, I mounted the phrase that I want to use for the front of my card. I'm going to ink it using the Tuxedo Black Memento ink on a piece of pale papaya cardstock. I'm going to stamp this down. Then I'm going to bring in this die from the Pierced Blooms pack, and I want to die cut the phrase using my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I'm just going to put the die around the phrase and die cut that out, and then we'll be ready to put the card all together. All right, I have all my bits and pieces ready to assemble. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use my mini Stampin' Dimensionals, and I am going to put a mini dimensional in the center of each flower, and then I'm going to lay one of the Whisper White centers onto it. So I will do that for all of the flowers, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we're going to organize this all on the card front. So I'll be back in a moment. I have all of my centers ready to go, and now I want to take these 9 flowers and I want to adhere them to a layer of Whisper White. So I'm going to bring in my silicone sheet, and what you want to do is you want to figure out the layout for your flowers. And what I'm going to do for my card layer is I am going to alternate my flowers like so. So you can figure out what layout you want to use for your card layer, but this is what I'm going to choose. So my first step recommendation for you is figure out your layout, then leave them on the card layer so that you can adhere them down and not lose track of the pattern you've created and the spacing. To me, it's more important about the spacing between each flower, so it looks like a nice sort of vertical and horizontal and diagonal layout. So I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm just going to add a spot of glue to the back of each flower, and I'm going to adhere them down, and then I'll let it dry for a few minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the next step in finishing off this card. I'll be back in a moment. All right, I think it's dry enough and I can go on to the next step in this card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my silicone sheet this time, and I'm going to add some multi-purpose liquid glue to the back of my flower layer, and then I'm going to adhere it onto the basic black, and that really makes it stand out, doesn't it? Okay, and the other reason that I love multi-purpose glue is that you can actually move it around a little bit before it starts to get sticky and adheres it dry. And then I have my phrase, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to add some multi-purpose liquid glue to the back of that. And I am going to adhere my phrase to the bottom front section of my card. So I have a quick question for you. I showed you the 3 new in colors that I've chosen for this Mother's Day card. What would you choose? What color combination do you think you would try if you have these dies and this phrase? But you don't have to use this phrase. You can use one that you have on hand. But I would love to know what 3 colors you would choose to create a card like this one. Why don't you leave me a comment underneath this video and tell me your color combo preference. Now, I have one final thing I want to do. I have some of my Basic Pearls jewels, and what I'm going to do is add a jewel on either side. I'm going to use the larger pearls just because I like them. and I have a lot of them and I want to use them up. And there we go. There's a beautiful Mother's Day card idea using the new in colors, using the Quiet Meadow stamp set and the Pierce Blooms dies. Now let me show you another idea. I used the same layout, but this time I used some of the outgoing in colors, the ones that are retiring. So the ones that are retiring are Rococo Rose and Seaside Spray. And then I also used Purple Posy because I think it's such a pretty color. So here are two different color combination ideas using the exact same layout. I used smaller pearls on this one and larger pearls on this one. Doesn't really matter, it's really about your choice. For a complete listing of the supplies that I used and the measurements for all of the layers, head on over to my blog, www.nutsaboutsstamping.com. And while you're over on my blog, I'd invite you to join my free mailing list to get insider tips and tricks and ideas to take your card making to the next level. In each week's newsletter, and I send 2 newsletters a week, I'll show you a project idea that you won't see anywhere else. I'm Terry. I am Nuts About Stamping. I hope you'll try this layout someday soon. Bye for now.